My name is Tiffany Ross. I'm 31 years old and I work in crisis communications. I read incident reports with my morning coffee. I turn panic into bullet points. I write statements that don't tremble when read out loud. When something breaks, people call me to make it make sense. At work, that skill is rewarded. At home, it made me invisible. I'm the older sister, the reliable one, the one who knows the Wi-Fi password, the pediatrician's office hours, and which bills are late without being told. My younger sister, Lauren, is married to Mark. 2 kids. A third that's been on the way in conversation for so long, it feels like a soft launch product that never ships. We grew up in a narrow house where the refrigerator hummed like a tired uncle, and the TV never shut up. Dad worked late shifts. Mom ran the house, which mostly meant keeping Lauren afloat. If something went wrong, it was discussed. If something went wrong for me, it was absorbed. Quietly, efficiently, without comment. 2 months ago, we were all at Sunday dinner. Meatloaf on chipped plates, a bowl of mashed potatoes cooling too fast. The family group chat buzzed on the counter, blue and gray bubbles popping, while Mark scrolled sports highlights like he was somewhere else entirely. Mom set down a serving spoon, wiped her hands on a towel, didn't look at me when she said it. Your sister's family will always come first. A pause. Not dramatic, just enough to land. Tiffany, you are always last. She said it like the weather, like gravity. Then, softer but somehow sharper. That's just how it is. Dad didn't clear his throat, didn't shift in his chair. He nodded, once, like he'd been waiting for it to be said out loud. My fork was halfway to my mouth. I set it down. No scene, no raised voice, no tears. Just a sentence arriving late and still exactly on time. Good to know, I said. Lauren didn't look at me. She tucked her hair behind one ear, the way she does when she's listening to a call I'm not on. I went home and opened my budgeting spreadsheet. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't revenge. It was the same thing I do at work when a situation finally clarifies itself. I drew a clean line between their names and my accounts. New bank, new card, new savings nickname, Tiffany only. I canceled 3 shared subscriptions, removed myself from the family cloud plan, took my email off the shared grocery list I'd been quietly funding. 16 minutes. That's all it took. It felt like unhooking something that had been wrapped around my ribs for years. I didn't text anyone. I just wrote one sentence in my notes app so I wouldn't backslide later. If you are always last in their house, you get to be first in your own. I slept hard, deep, dreamless, like my body had been waiting for permission. A week later, the emergency hit. Sirens, panic, the group chat exploding before sunrise. Lauren was calling from the passenger seat of a dented sedan, hazard lights ticking like a metronome. One of the kids had a fever that wouldn't break. Urgent care wanted a hold, down $200, and their card had declined. We're outside, she said, voice shaking. They won't see him without it, please. Minutes later, Mom called. Her voice was already halfway up the staircase of accusation. If you cared about family, you'd have a card on file with them. This is what we meant by first. Dad took the phone. Fix it, he said. We'll talk after. I stood in my kitchen with one hand on the counter, my phone reflecting my face in the black screen. I could have paid it in 18 seconds. I have a good job, a boring, stable emergency fund. I could have bought the whole waiting room furniture if they'd asked. But I remembered the sentence at the dinner table. I remembered quietly paying for tires. I remembered printing my spreadsheet at 2 a.m. and holding it like proof to an empty room. I can't put my card on anything, I said, but I'll drive you there. I'll sit with you. I'll help talk to the desk. Silence. The hazard light ticking got louder. Tiffany, Lauren whispered, not angry, just small. Please. I'm coming, I said. At the clinic, I paid nothing. I asked questions. I explained the situation. Family in crisis. Billing flagged. The front desk offered a payment plan. Lauren and Mark enrolled. The hold went on their card. They got seen. They didn't thank me. That's not bitterness. It's a fact. In the car, Mom called to review my performance. So you're really making your sister do this alone? She said. I didn't make her do anything, I said. I just didn't become a wallet. Same thing, she replied. That night, the group chat lit up. Mom, Tiffany refused to help. Dad, we're disappointed. Lauren, a gray typing bubble that vanished. I sent one message. I'll help with rides, paperwork, advocacy, not money. The replies came fast, sharp, selfish, unbelievable. Don't forget who helped you. No one has paid one of my bills since I was 18. I put the phone face down and made tea. I knew what came next. Escalation, public pressure, shame as leverage. So I built my war room. I printed the spreadsheet. 5 years. Dates, amounts, reasons, promises copied and pasted. I pulled bank statements, screenshots, receipts. I wrote a clean statement in plain language and waited. 3 days later, they sent for me. The call came during a client meeting. Mom's name lit up my phone 5 times, then a group video call. Mom, Dad, Lauren, Mark. I sent it to voicemail, finished my slide deck, apologized for the interruption like a liar. When I stepped into the hallway, the call came again. I answered because I wanted witnesses, even if those witnesses were fluorescent lights and an ice machine. We're at Grandma's, Mom said. Everyone's here. Tell them what you told your sister. Okay, I said. I opened my laptop, turned on my camera. I brought documentation. The spreadsheet filled the screen, row after row. 5 years of truth. Lauren started crying. Not angry tears, the kind that metabolize shame. I delivered my boundary like a press release. No shared accounts, no cards on file. I'll help with everything else. Silence. You're punishing us, Mom said. No, I replied. I believed you when you said I was last. I just organized my life accordingly. I ended the call. Boundaries aren't doors you slam, they're lines you stop erasing. And for the first time, the line held. The silence after I ended the call wasn't peaceful. It was hollow, like a room after furniture's been dragged out and the walls are still warm where things used to lean. I sat in the hallway outside the conference room for a minute longer than necessary, listening to the ice machine choke and recover, choke and recover. My phone buzzed, face down in my hand. I didn't flip it over. At work, we call that letting the dust settle. You don't rush into the aftermath. You wait to see what collapses on its own. By the time I got home, the group chat had multiplied into side conversations. Cousins I only saw at funerals. Aunts who liked my photos but never asked how I was doing. Everyone had an opinion about money they'd never loaned and boundaries they'd never had to hold. Mom posted a paragraph that read like a sermon delivered with tired breath. Tiffany is withholding support during a medical emergency. She's been keeping a list of our struggles like a debt collector. This isn't how family treats family. Dad added a thumbs up. Mark posted a photo of the clinic bill, cropped tight like evidence. Lauren said nothing. For 8 hours. When she finally did, it wasn't a defense or an apology. It was a picture of my nephew asleep, cheeks flushed and damp, hair stuck to his forehead. We're okay, she wrote. That was the only line that mattered. I didn't post the spreadsheet. I didn't tag anyone. That kind of thing poisons the well forever, and I didn't want to drink from it later. But I did something quieter and more permanent. I made it impossible for my money to be accidentally helpful. I removed my card from every autofill setting. I called the pediatric clinic and asked them to delete my information from any backup payer fields. The receptionist sounded confused. You've been listed here since the flu shots 3 years ago, she said. I know, I replied. Please remove it. I called the pharmacy next, then the urgent care network, then my bank. I changed my Apple Pay default to a card I keep in a drawer. I turned on Face ID for every transfer. I wrote no family reimbursements on a yellow sticky note and put it inside my wallet like a curse. The last thing I touched was the family phone plan. That one hurt more than I expected. Not because of the money, but because of the memories buried in the line items. Lauren's text when I held her first baby at 3 a.m. Dad calling during his late shifts just to stay awake. Years of being reachable. The account was under my name. It always had been. I split it. I gave them 30 days and a discount code. I typed the message 5 times before sending it. Hey, I'm moving all lines off my account by March 1st. I'm happy to help you transfer. After that, I won't be able to see or manage anything. Separate plans equals fewer fights. Mom responded in under a minute. So now you're abandoning your family twice. I didn't answer. I took a walk instead. The sky was that wide winter blue that looks fake, like someone adjusted the saturation too high. I breathed until my hands stopped buzzing. The next week was loud, then suddenly quiet. There were the expected flares, a cousin calling me cold, an aunt posting a Facebook status about modern selfishness, Mark messaging me man to man to say I was ruining Lauren's mental health. I didn't argue, I watched behavior instead of listening to noise. Lauren texted carefully. Can you watch the kids Thursday? I have an interview. Yes, I wrote back. No qualifiers, no footnotes. Thursday came. I made dinosaur nuggets, cut grapes in half, wiped noses, read the same book 4 times until my voice went hoarse. When Lauren came back, rain frizzing her hair, she stood in the hallway like she wasn't sure where to put her feet. "I got the second interview," she said. "That's great," I replied. She nodded. "I signed up for a budgeting class at church." "Cool." She swallowed. "I didn't know the number would make me feel like I stole something." "You didn't steal," I said. "You asked." I said yes. I shouldn't have. Her mouth trembled. "Mom says you hate us now." "I don't," I said gently. "I just love myself too." That night, Dad called. He didn't talk about bills. He asked about my job, asked if my back still hurt from sitting all day, told me he'd seen an ad for almond milk and thought of me. From him, it was basically poetry. "I'm not choosing sides," he said finally. "I'm just old and tired." "Okay," I said. It wasn't an apology, but it was a ceasefire, and I took it. Mom didn't de-escalate, she escalated. She called my office. I found out when HR forwarded me an email with the subject line, "Concerning your employee." In it, Mom wrote that I had ethical issues with money and implied clients shouldn't trust me. HR asked me gently if I had time to talk. I booked a Zoom, told the truth. Clean, boring. Family boundary, financial entanglement. Change. Recent separation. I didn't show the spreadsheet. I didn't need to. My boss laughed, not unkindly. "Your crisis memo last week was excellent," she said. "We're good, but maybe change your emergency contact." "I already did," I replied. "It's my friend Jenna." I texted Jenna a screenshot with a skull emoji. "About time," she wrote back. After that, the quiet deepened. Not the warm quiet of resolution, the damp quiet after a storm, when you're still checking the ceiling for leaks. Then the second emergency hit. Mark's car was repossessed, Tuesday morning. He texted 3 lines. "They took the car. Need $1,800 to get it back. I start a job next week. Please." I stared at the numbers, felt the old reflex twitch. Then I typed, "I can't pay that. I can help coordinate rides. I can help you talk to the lender." He replied with heat. "You loved being needed until it cost you." I deleted my response. Sometimes the only statement is silence. I drove the kids to school the next day. Sat with Lauren while she called the lender and asked about a modified plan. We mapped the bus route on paper. I didn't send 1-800. When you remove money from a system that runs on it, you see the gears. There were fights between my parents about how they raised us, whispered calls from relatives admitting, quietly, that maybe I had a point. A cousin asked me for my spreadsheet template for a friend. One night I got a text from an unknown number. "How did you say no?" I sent a copied paragraph, didn't ask who it was. 2 weeks later, Lauren sent me a photo of a pay stub. Small, but hers. "First check," she wrote, with a smiley that used to annoy me and now didn't. She tried to send me $50 toward old stuff. I refused, told her to put it toward diapers. "No," she said, "I need to practice." We argued for 3 texts. I let her win. Mom kept up the moral outrage like a general, who didn't realize the war was already over. Then she got tired. Outrage is exhausting without applause. Sunday dinner came and went. I didn't attend. But the following week, Dad showed up at my apartment with a bag of oranges and a folded newspaper. He'd never been to my place before. He looked around like he'd walked into a museum. "Your mother made soup," he said, setting the bag down. He hadn't brought soup. We sat. He peeled an orange the way he used to when I was 5 and sick. "She shouldn't have called your work," he said quietly. Agreed. I should have said that earlier. We ate in silence. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. And for the first time, the silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like space. The quiet didn't mean peace. It meant recalibration. When money stops flowing through a system that depended on it, people don't suddenly become wise. They become creative. They test edges. They probe for leaks. They look for the old access points and knock, softly at first, then harder. Lauren didn't ask for money again. That mattered. Mark did, indirectly. He sent logistics questions that sounded harmless. "Do you know anyone selling a car cheap?" Then followed them with silence heavy enough to feel like a bill. I answered what I could. I didn't fill in what I couldn't. Mom tried nostalgia. She texted photos from years ago, holidays, birthdays, screenshots of group chats where I'd been cheerful, helpful, useful. No commentary, just images, deployed like evidence of a contract I never signed. I didn't respond. At work, my life expanded in small, unfamiliar ways. I took a weekend trip without calculating how many emergencies might hit while I was gone. I signed up for Pilates because my back had been complaining for years, and I finally listened. I rearranged my living room and realized, mid-sofa push, that I'd been saving the best seat for a guest who never came. The family chat stayed muted until Dad broke the pattern. He sent a single message, not to the group, to me. "Your mother is struggling with this." I stared at the screen for a long moment. "I know," I typed. "So am I." He didn't reply. But later that night, I noticed something small and strange. Mom's Facebook post, the one about modern selfishness, was gone. Not edited. Deleted. She hadn't apologized. That's not part of her vocabulary, but she'd removed the billboard. A week later, the clinic bill came due. Lauren and Mark paid it in chunks. Not because they'd suddenly gotten rich, because they stopped waiting for me to jump. I kept my folder anyway. Old habits die slow. I like proof, even when I don't need it anymore. Lauren texted me late one night. "Thank you for not paying." I read it 3 times. "How are the kids?" I asked. "Sticky, loud, alive, good." She sent a photo of a small whiteboard on her fridge. 5 lines written in marker. Rent, utilities, groceries, clinic, savings. The star next to savings was crooked. Earned. Mom and I didn't talk. Dad brought oranges sometimes and sat like he was learning a new language, one noun at a time. Mark stayed defensive but quieter. The volume had dropped across the board. I stopped reading the group chat like it was a court docket. Sometimes I muted it for days. My life widened. I used to think boundaries were doors you slammed. Loud, dramatic, satisfying. Lately, they feel more like sticky notes. You put them on the right files. Quiet, boring, hard to argue with. Here's what I know now. "You are always last" is a sentence about them, not me. I believed it, and it became a budget line. When I stopped believing it, the line closed. Saying I won't pay is not the same as saying I don't care. I drove. I watched kids. I filled out forms. I sat in plastic chairs that made my back ache. Caring is work you can't charge to a card. Families that run on one person's invisible money will call you cruel when you unplug. They're grieving the old machine. Let them. They'll either build a new one or learn to carry their own bags. Keeping receipts didn't make me small. It made me honest. The spreadsheet wasn't revenge. It was the only language left. Last Sunday, Dad came by again. This time with soup. Real soup. He set it on the counter and looked at the quote pinned above my desk, a line from a PR book I'd torn out years ago. "Your story starts when you stop apologizing for your lines." "What's that mean?" he asked. "It means I decide my sentences now." He nodded. "Okay." He left shortly after. At the door, he paused. "See you, Tiff?" He hadn't called me that since I was a kid. It was enough. When the next family emergency comes, and life promises it will, I know what I'll do. I'll drive. I'll sit. I'll bring a casserole with my name on it. But I won't be last in a house I pay for. And if someone says that makes me cruel, good to know, I'll say. Then I'll keep living the story I finally wrote for myself. Simple sentences, short paragraphs, and a budget that tells the truth. The strange thing about holding a boundary long enough is that it stops feeling like a stance and starts feeling like furniture. It's just there. You move around it. You don't argue with it anymore. Weeks passed, then a month. Nothing exploded. That alone felt like a revelation. Lauren kept working. The second interview turned into an offer. Part-time at first, then a tentative schedule that looked like something she could build on. She sent me a photo of her first full grocery run that she paid for herself. No commentary, just the receipt, folded once, sitting on the passenger seat. I sent her a thumbs up and nothing else. She didn't need praise. She needed dignity. Mark stayed defensive, but the sharp edges dulled. When he texted now, it was about logistics, not rescue. Bus routes, shift times, questions that assumed effort instead of entitlement. We weren't close, but we were functional. Mom never apologized. Instead, she pivoted, quietly. She stopped posting, stopped calling my work. When she did speak to me, it was clipped, formal, like we were distant relatives who might someday be polite again. I accepted that. Apologies are nice. Behavior is better. Dad kept coming by with oranges. Sometimes soup, sometimes just the newspaper folded under his arm. He'd sit, ask about my job, comment on the weather like it was new information. Once he said, "Your mother's learning, slowly." I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't need updates from inside the old system anymore. One night, Lauren came over alone. No kids, no Mark. She sat on my couch and stared at the wall for a long time before speaking. "I used to think you were just strong," she said, "like it was easy for you." I waited. "I didn't realize you were holding us up." You didn't know, I said. That doesn't make you evil. It just makes you human. She nodded, eyes wet but steady. I don't want to go back. You won't, I replied. You can't unsee a budget once it works. She laughed, a small, surprised sound. When she left, she hugged me like a sister, not a beneficiary. The group chat still existed, but it no longer ran my nervous system. I muted it without guilt. I traveled without calculating risk. I spent money without rehearsing explanations in my head. I rearranged my apartment again, this time because I wanted to, not because I was waiting for someone. Here's the truth I wish I'd learned earlier. Boundaries don't make you lonely. They make room. They show you who can meet you without leverage, who can stay when the perks are gone, who actually wants you, not your usefulness. I used to think love was endurance. Now I know it's consent. Consent to help, consent to stop, consent to be whole. Last week, Lauren sent me a photo of that same whiteboard. The star next to savings had been erased and redrawn, bigger this time. Still practicing, she wrote. I smiled and put my phone down. If another emergency comes, and it will, I know exactly what I'll offer. Time, presence, honest help. Not silence bought with money, not love measured in transfers. Separate money, separate plans. It's not a threat, it's a recipe. And for the first time in my life, Sunday afternoons taste like rest.